Hello, greetings, everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet, and today we are going to be talking about the Great Resignation. Now, before we get to today's featured piece of content, I would like to take a second and bring you all back in time with me. All the way back to a magical time, the fall of 2021. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but, you know, still got to get there. Remember then? Oh, it was glorious, glorious days. COVID was at an all-time dip. Schools reopened. People just took their kids and threw them back into schools. Every business, yeah, we're gonna open everything. America's back to full business. We're cranking. And wait, what happened? A whole bunch of the workers didn't come back. Apparently they didn't hear about the plan. Or rather, they did and just decided to not come back to work. And thus, the Great Resignation was born. Now, of course, capitalists have been scratching their heads for months. They literally just spent like millions of dollars to figure out that it was a multi-tiered resignation. It was older people who retired early. It was mothers, especially single mothers, who were forced to stay home with their kids once everything reopened because daycare is ludicrously expensive and it's not worth going back to a job that pays $10 an hour when you have to spend 35 grand a year on daycare. So those people also didn't come back to work. And then there were hundreds of thousands of people who quit their jobs and went to the same job at a different company for better pay because, of course, all of these large holes in the labor force are actually forcing capitalists to have to spend more money to hire people to do the same job because, you know, we live in a market economy and right now labor is a rare and precious commodity. Side note here, people, make sure you're getting absolutely as much as you can for your labor because fuck those people. But I digress. So today, what I wanted to do was take a look at how the wealthy people are managing to express their anger and frustration over the Great Resignation and how they're working overtime to remind you that if you try to resign or, switch your job, it could be perilous out there. So, maybe you shouldn't do that. Here, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Here we go! Can you afford to join the Great Resignation? The true cost of quitting your job without another one lined up could be higher than you imagine. Dun, dun, dun! Wow, that's very ominous. Yeah, this is the headline that caught my attention when I was looking for some content to discuss with my people today. And, well, of course, this definitely piqued my curiosity, and I clicked it, and then I realized it was Bloomberg Opinion, which is part of Bloomberg News, which is also part of Bloomberg TV, all of which is owned by Michael Bloomberg. And you might remember that guy. He was the mayor of New York City, and then he bought himself an extra term, even though the City of New York only allows you to serve so many terms. And then, the DNC got him to somehow miraculously be a candidate in the 2020 primaries to splinter the vote so that a certain person couldn't ride their early surge to a nomination. And he spent $40 million of his own money to do it just because he's a real team player. Yeah, that guy. So he owns this large multimedia cable conglomerate and all their shit's behind a paywall and I can't afford to pay for it. So I took the title of this, I put it into Google, and I was like, hey, let's see if somebody else has already reprinted this article. And let me tell you, can you afford to join the Great Resignation? This right here? Wow, wealthy people have been pushing ideas like this very similarly for months now, all over different outlets. Surprise, surprise. Here, let me show you. Apparently, Credit Karma put out a press release article all the way back in August, talking about the Great Resignation and warning people that they might not be able to afford such a thing. If you look down in the bottom after you get past all the stats and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, here's the real crux of this entire thing that came out. The question is, can consumers afford to job hunt? And to what lengths are they willing to go financially to find the right gig? And then they go on to discuss all of the costs that are involved with looking for a job and how it just might not be that convenient. Maybe you should just stay at the job you're at. And I was like, okay, this is a press release. It's put out by Credit Karma, and sure, a couple of websites reprinted it, but this one didn't exactly set off alarm bells. And then I scrolled a little further down on Google and I found this fucking mess. Susie Orman, can you afford to join the Great Resignation? Answer these 5 questions. Dun, dun, dun. Now, this appeared on CNBC. They are the financial arm of NBC, who merged with Universal to become NBC Universal, and they got bought out by Comcast, who is a multinational, multi-billion-dollar cable conglomerate. So, they sent out Susie Orman. You know who Susie Orman is, right? Don't you know? Yeah, she's a very, very pragmatic Midwestern sort of woman. She's a best-selling author. You know, the best way to save. The best way to plan for tomorrow. You know, good Midwestern values. Yeah, they sent Susie Orman out to freak people out and ask them questions like, are you on crack? Do you really want to resign? Do you want to possibly risk your family and your mortgage? Ah! Yeah, this is what CNBC was putting out there, because while people like me are rooting for, you know, the working class in fast food and retail to, you know, try to find a $15 an hour job instead of a $9 an hour job because they're out there, yeah, all these people started to get freaked out because white collar motherfuckers were doing the same shit. Remember when I told you about the early retirement folks? Yeah, a lot of those people were white collar. So now all of a sudden all these accounting firms and stock brokerages, they had huge fucking gaping holes in their labor force, and the only way to get people is to offer a lot of money to poach them from other companies. The problem with that is other companies are doing the same thing to their workforce. You remember back in the beginning when I told you that we exist in a market and right now labor is a commodity? Yeah, they're all fighting over it. So they send out people like Susie Orman to tell you, hey, maybe you should just stay put. You know, maybe you could ask for like a 2% raise or something. Woo! And now if this wasn't bad enough, they fucking double dipped on this article. That's right. They put it up on MSNBC like 4 days later, just in case, you know, you constantly read MSNBC, but you're not into reading financial web pages? Don't worry. They got the rest of middle America covered too on MSNBC. Here you go, please. Digest Susie Orman and her freakout questions. They even had like insider industry sites like bankrate.com writing articles. The Great Resignation, why millions of workers are leaving their jobs and what to consider before quitting. Hey, are you sure you want to leave that job? I mean, look, you love where you are. You've been working there already and you didn't quit before, right? Hey, and now there's fewer people there. So, you know, you could probably go from waiter to head waiter. And wouldn't that be grand? You know, then you could take home like an extra $100 a month or something. So, you know, you should probably stay where you are. You should trust the people at bankrate.com who use pictures of people waiting tables to explain why you shouldn't quit your job. Oh, and don't worry, they got Susie Orman beat. Susie Orman's like, oh, here's 5 questions you should ask yourselves. And bankrate.com was like, cool, Susie, hold my beer. Here's 7 questions you should fucking ask. Number 1, do you have a lot of money? Because if you don't, you shouldn't leave your job. Huh? What? My dude, this is why people are leaving their jobs. And if all of that wasn't bad enough, I found this little humdinger on a local ABC News website in Cincinnati. This one dropped about 2 weeks ago. Fun story here. I did some checking. This same article appeared on 37 different local ABC News website affiliates all around the country. 4.5 million Americans just quit their job. What to know before you join them? Hey, whoa. Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure? Because, again, you already have a job. Why destabilize the economy any further? You know, I mean, if you quit this job and you go to another job to make more money, then your employer is going to have to hire somebody else and spend money and then spend money to train them. And your new employer is going to have to spend money to train you. And we don't want corporations and businesses spending money. We just want poor working class people spending money in, you know, retail and fast food. That's all we want. We don't need all this chaos going on, okay? Lisa Rowan is a consumer finance expert with Forbes Advisor. She said the first step for anyone planning to quit their job is to make a plan. I'm sorry, did you just go out of your way to validate a source because they work at Forbes and then rock a sentence like anybody planning to quit their job should make a plan? Did you know what the word planning meant? Quote, take an inventory of your spending, your obligations, and the different factors that you might have to make up for if you leave a job, so you can plan for some financial security in 2022. Yeah, but financial security. Show of hands, how many people out there have financial security? I can't actually see through the camera, but I'm going to assume that literally none of you raised your hands, because if you're watching this video, yeah, you're not some corporate stock owning person. You're a member of the working class, and right now you're scratching your head at the same time I am going, what the fuck is financial security? Rowan said people who plan to quit should be clear in their objectives. Is it really worth leaving a job with benefits and paid time off? Is it worth it to find a fully remote job? Wait a minute. What are benefits? What's paid time off? Whoa, hold on. I think we all need to schedule an interview with this Lisa Rowan person, because I have questions. Like, I read those and I know those are words, but I don't actually know what they mean. And so this takes us back to the original headline. After 2-3 months of bullshit from all these different news organizations, now let's get back to the article that attracted my attention and sent me down that rabbit hole in the first place. Can you afford to join the Great Resignation? Many of us fantasize about quitting our jobs. In 2021, more people than ever turned that dream into reality. The latest U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics data shows that 4.53 million Americans voluntarily left their jobs last November. This was both a new monthly record and the 8th consecutive month above the pre-pandemic high level. In the UK, the story is a little more nuanced. Nevertheless, the number of job vacancies as of November 2021 stood at a record 1.21 million, according to their Office for National Statistics. It would appear that the Great Resignation is alive and well and likely to continue into 2022. If you're considering jumping ship, one of the first things you should ask is, can you afford to? Ah, yes. This old chestnut. And by this old chestnut, I mean literally the same thing we just read in the last 6 articles that came out in the last 3 months of other financial experts saying, hey, are you sure you can afford to do this? Maybe you should think twice before you leave your job. Now, quick side note here before I go on. The person who wrote this article, Stuart Trow, he's a financial business dude from the UK, lives in the UK, and is writing this article about what's going on with the UK version of the Great Resignation. However, he's doing this thing that I've shown you before called statistical conflation. When you start off with a parallel example of a much larger number and then go into your own, which is why, even though he's now going to discuss all the problems with not being in the UK labor force, he still started the article with the US 10 million quits number because it's bigger and it's spookier and scarier. In the US and the UK, many quitters actually had new jobs to go to, or at least good reason to believe they weren't taking a huge risk with their careers or finances. Indeed, positions were aplenty. Similar to the UK, the US JOLTS job opening report showed vacancies remained far above pre-pandemic levels at 10.6 million in November. But not everybody resigning has their next gig lined up. In these cases, it's vital to consider the costs involved in voluntarily leaving the workforce, even on a temporary basis. Once again, rich people who are fine, they have their own high-paying jobs, plus they have capital investments that are giving them passive income every month that they only have to pay a much smaller portion of taxes on. All these people are telling all the people underneath them who make less than them, who work at the services that these people frequent, that they shouldn't quit their jobs. Why? Because again, it's inconvenience for them, and it's an inconvenience for capital investors to have to see their record profits being shaved by having to spend more money to retain or get new employees. So what does all of this mean for you, the average viewer at home, the fellow member of the working class? Well, to start with, it means that this old chestnut here, my favorite old chestnut, and one that I've shown you before, is happening again. The people who quite literally have billions of dollars are paying the people who have millions of dollars to give these great speeches to convince the people who have hundreds of thousands of dollars that they need to get back to getting the poors to work for hundreds of dollars so that everything can finally stabilize. Because while a little financial instability is good for the people who possess capital because they can afford to buy busted businesses and busted homes that go out of business for pennies on the dollar, Prolonged financial or labor instability is not good. It makes it difficult for them to get back to peak efficiency where they can extract the maximum amount of wealth from both their workforce and their customers. But more importantly, what this means is that these numbers from November are probably going to look no better in December or January. It just takes a while for the reporting to kick in. So, for all of you out there who are still shopping your wares and your services for the highest possible bidder, don't fold, because you definitely have them on the run. There's way too many job openings and way too high a desire for skilled labor out there that you should be selling your labor to anybody for anything but the absolute maximum amount that you can get. That's right, people. Go get that bag. This is your market. Squeeze. Squeeze like the capitalists have been squeezing the shit out of you for decades. You make them pay top dollar, no matter what it is you do, no matter your occupation or your job. Go get them. Until next time, my name is James. I am from the internet, and I am out. Peace.